you remember when the NFL announced all these provisions they were taking and the fact they were educating all these players on the risks of gambling?
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Like, there were a couple more that came out. All right, we've taken care of this. Everything's good to go now. We are all ready to rock. Yeah, apparently not. Ioma Owazarike of the Denver Broncos.
Say that one more time.
He probably thought he wasn't going to get caught because his name's too hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
They were like, well, they're never going to catch my ass. That whatever I want, they can't even pronounce my name.
He is a defensive lineman for the Denver Broncos. He appeared in 8 games last year for Denver, and he will now appear in no games this upcoming year for the Denver Broncos because he got popped for gambling on NFL games during the 2022 season, and so he gets the year-long suspension, and he can try and get back into the league and see if he can get reinstated after this year-long suspension, and we see how that goes. And my big question for Mr. Owazarike, did you do the smart thing and bet against your own team last year because they were a bad football team? I just want to know if he used the intel that he had on Russell Wilson in practice and bet against the Denver Broncos. That's all I want to know, because apparently the NFL trying to stop players from doing this, it hasn't really worked thus far, and I just feel like this is going to be like steroids.
It's apparently like crack cocaine, man.
Jeez.
Like, they be fiending for it, like straight, like, fiending. Yeah, man. Like, he like scratching his head, like, my man Dave Chappelle. Clearly having a mobile device.
Tyrone Biggins? What was his name?
Tyrone Biggins.
Yeah. I want some crack.
Gambling sure is good. Like,
you smoke crack, don't you?
Was that Sean Payton?
You're going to gamble your life away. Like, I just don't understand. Why is gambling this important?
Well, I'll tell you what I know. It's the dumbest bet I ever heard of.
I mean, why is it? Are you serious? It's a way of life. It's a culture.
It clearly is. That's. I mean, look,
Gambling City is a place.
There's only one other time I felt it's a place.
Yeah.
There's only one other time I felt this way about a habit that kept costing you, and that was Josh Gordon with weed. Like, bro, you're really willing. You're really okay with messing your career up over smoking some weed.
He was ahead of his time, though, now that we think about it.
Okay, but still, the rule was the rule then, and it was frowned upon to even really talk about smoking weed publicly until a certain time. Why would you continue to do something that jeopardizes a profession that pays you handsomely for your services? And I'm trying to understand, why would you make a bet, do something? You're gambling to gamble. You're gambling your career. Now the dude has to sit out for a year?
You know what amazes me? Calvin Ridley got popped for gambling in the 2021 season. Like, he was away, and then he did some 7-game parlays, and they suspended him and laid the hammer down. And we talked about it at the time. You got to set a precedent. You can't gamble. You got to go hard on the first guy who gets popped. And it was Calvin Ridley, who was a really good player, who lost an entire year. And still, 10 more players have gotten popped.
That's unbelievable.
Like nobody paid attention. Like, nobody got the email, or nobody was aware of, like, yeah, guys, you can't do this. That wasn't like a joke. He really did get popped for an entire year because of gambling. And these guys like, whatever. And then you get, Jameson Williams, who says, yeah, but if I bet on some college football games, not a problem at all. No, you were inside the team facility. That's 6 games. Like, what the F, man? I don't know if it's if they're just not smart or if they're degenerate gamblers.
I'm just saying.
Which are you hoping for, Jonas?
Degenerate gamblers. And as somebody who's not smart and a degenerate gambler, this is like a story made for me. So I'm proud of these guys.
It just doesn't add up to me how we continue to have stories of guys getting popped for gambling. It is mind-boggling to me. I just don't understand it.
I'm with you. I don't get it. I think the NFL, as well as the NFLPA, has done their best to inform individuals of this. Again, I can't speak from any other perspective other than from the outside. I haven't been addicted to that sort of thing. I think it's fun, but I think it's not worth risking your job. And so I don't know what you do to curtail this outside of, the punishment being so punitive that it scares players. I mean, it's not like you can incentivize players not to gamble. Like, what would be your incentivization? Right? Like are you rewarding them somehow? Hey, all you guys didn't gamble this year. Way to go. Like, let's give you an extra little payout from the DraftKings or, FanDuel or something else. Like
for everybody who didn't gamble, you can take PEDs for 2 weeks. Free of charge.
But nothing will ever be good enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, nothing will be good enough.
It's like you can either motivate people through incentive or fear. And in this case, the only thing you can do is try to take away the ability for a player to do it. And I think, like, if you said, for example, in any professional sport, if you get caught for PEDs, it's a lifetime banishment, no ifs, ands, or buts. Tell me how many people would risk then taking something.
Agreed.
A lot less.
Now, you might have an appeal process where, let's say there was something tainted or you used a shampoo or whatever the excuse is, okay? Right. Let's say that is the case. You have an appeal process you can go through. But you sure well better be able to prove it. Otherwise, you're not getting that opportunity again. It's not a right to be able to play in any professional sports league. It's a privilege. And I think the integrity of the game, of the sports books, of all parties involved, they have to do all they can to uphold that, to think that players aren't point shaving, coaches aren't point shaving, officials aren't point shaving. I mean, there's so many things that could impact sports books and people's confidence that everything's on the up and up, that I think you've got to be extremely harsh in your punishment. And it's not saying that, like, this individual's a bad person or that they shouldn't be able to rehabilitate themselves and have a second chance at something else. It's more about the league, and I think where it's going, where they have to take an extremely hard approach with how they handle things with players, even though to fans on the outside it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, because a lot of these fans are able to bet, and they're like, "What's the big deal, man? It was a 7-game parlay. Calvin Ridley didn't bet that much money. It doesn't matter. It's the precedent of the matter."
Here's the one that doesn't make sense to me. So Isaiah Wilson was also suspended for the first 3 games from the Denver Broncos. So he's an offensive tackle, and I guess they're not really giving details on either of these as of yet. So what is worth 3? We know Jameson Williams betting on college football games is 6 games. We know betting on NFL games is a full year. So what's 3 games? WNBA? Like, to me,
what?
I'm just wondering.
Because you bet on the WNBA, you think that's more punitive? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, it's less punitive. Because he's only getting suspended 3 games. So why is his 3 games when you've got 6 here?
Okay, so maybe he was bet on like cornhole or something.
Something like that.
I just don't feel like. Here's my thing. I got a theory here that I'm just thinking about. Right.
Hold on. Do we need the proper music for this?
I mean, God, you could turn on some X-Files or some Unsolved, whatever it may be. But
we have Robert Stack in a trench coat.
Robert Stack is here
in an alley with some smoke coming out from.
Update.
All right, so here's my theory, right?
While awaiting his Delta airline flight.
My theory is this a symptom, a product of player pampering? I mean, if you think about when a player is in youth athletics and they show that they are a more athletic, a more successful, a higher trajectory player than all the other ones, they get preferential treatment. They get treated differently. The coach will go pick them up and drop them off at their home. They get them Gatorades from the marts, which is a very big deal when you're a young guy and you get juice cartons and stuff like that. You make mistakes or you get a bad grade and everybody's there to say, please do better in school. We'll help you do better. It'll be okay. And you are pacified, you are accompanied, you are assisted. If you continue on that trajectory and you're good in high school, teachers will cut you breaks. Principals, different authoritative figures, they will cut you breaks. You can leave class at different times to do certain things. Why? Because maybe you had a visit from a college coach, or maybe you just didn't want to be in class. And you know what? People kind of allow you to do what you want to do. That trend in a lot of ways continues into college. You're pampered, you're catered to, you're able to basically get away with certain things that other people aren't. And I just wonder if that habit for some of these people of feeling as though they're not touchable, like they're literally above the law. Like you think about a Ja Morant and the way he handles things, and to do it again, right? To do it again within a small period of time. I just think that these athletes, and I don't want to say these as if I'm not one of them, because I have been a beneficiary of preferential treatment. I just wonder, is this a product of a lifetime of receiving preferential treatment?
You just take the life for granted almost, and you take the opportunity for granted.
Right. Or if I mess up, somebody or someone is going to be there to fix it.
Yeah.
It's always someone's going to fix it for me.
Do you think it's interesting, though, that of all these players that have been popped, we've seen Indy, Detroit, Denver, Jacksonville, or Atlanta at the time, like all these places, nobody for the Raiders. And I just wonder.
Because you can go to the sport book.
Maybe it's a little easier.
Go right there.
I got your geo-tracking right here. Let me go ahead and put my phone in the trash can, and I'll walk right on down to MGM Sportsbook, and in a disguise.
Why you gotta put your phone in the trash can?
Well, what does that have to do with it?
Just play it safe here.
You can just turn your phone off.
Yeah.
You could just turn your phone off.
You could just leave your phone in the car. Like
yeah, but if you really want to cover your tracks, you got to go places where nobody's going to sift through.
But there doesn't have to be any. If you're there, you're not making any transmissions of gambling on your phone anyway. So even if
they can track you,
even if your tracking system showed that you were at MGM, so what? If you didn't place the bet on your phone, it doesn't log it.
Yeah, I told you last time I was at a sports book, some guy had a seizure. You know what I did?
What'd you do?
Still got my bet in.
You just kept betting.
Sorry, buddy.
Stepped right over top of him.
Is that true? I thought you said you didn't, but you wanted to.
No, I couldn't get the Robbie
He
Lawler
said he
bet
stepped
in.
over top of him to get to. He was like in front of the sports book.
I'll take the 8 horse in the 10th race today.
they said, sir, thank you so much for your help. Hey, no problem. Can I get Volkanovski by decision, please? And I still lost that bet. So
yeah, well, that's not surprising.
Yeah. That's what he said. He stepped over that man's seething body. Golly.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me.
Someone hold his tongue. Can I get the 2 horse in the 7th race today?
Yeah, you're not going to want to do it that way. Yeah. Tilt his head. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, he's a mutter. He's fine in these conditions. No big deal. Just place the bet, okay? Hold his tongue.
Yep. That's good. Okay. All right. Okay.